This is what it is to be first. In order. I'm very honored to be here. I feel privileged to have been nominated in a year when there have been so many interesting and diverse books written, nonfiction books written. We had a wonderful breakfast this morning where the four of us got to meet each other and swap tales about the process of writing, about publishing, and about some publishers. As a child, I dreamed of writing books. I actually dreamed of writing novels. And for that very reason, I chose journalism as a career, because I figured that working in newspapers was a great way to learn the skill of writing, of putting nouns and verbs together, although you don't get much chance to practice with adverbs and adjectives. The discipline of daily deadlines helped me to evolve from being a reporter, which I was always quite good at, to a writer, which I was always quite bad at. And newspapers also taught me rather quickly that my imagination is no match for real life. My ability to construct a make-believe world could never begin to compete with the stories in the real world. And in my wildest dreams and worst nightmares, I could never have conjured up Bountiful and the world of fundamentalist Mormonism. And as Fazil mentioned, it was in May 2004 that I started writing about this. And I received an email from the wonderful Jancis Andrews, who's sitting right over there. She is a reader, a letter writer that's well known to people at the Vancouver Sun. And she sent me one of her many emails that came all in caps, demanding to know why I was not writing about polygamy and the young girls being trafficked across the Canada-US border to become concubines to old men, all in the guise of religion. I really didn't believe her. Sorry, Jancis. But she convinced me that was true. And with that, I began a journey into the dark corner, into a dark story that had all of the things that my mother, who's also here, told me that were not topics for polite conversation: religion, politics, sex, and money. My mother, as usual, was right. These are not topics that can be dealt with politely. So for the most part, we shy away from them, and in doing so, we tacitly agree that it's okay for old men to have dozens of wives and hundreds of children. We tacitly agree that it's okay for them to take 13, 14, and 15-year-old girls as plural wives, and that it's okay to turn young boys and men into slave laborers before cutting them adrift so that you can satisfy the punishing arithmetic of polygamy. Before I started writing the book, I'd written close to 100 newspaper stories about what was going on in Bountiful, a group that the lawyers said, don't ever call them a cult. So I just did, okay? But it was only in researching the book that I actually began to realize and absorb the magnitude of the abuse and the patterns of abuse and the sheer horror of life in Bountiful. Because this is nonfiction, not make-believe, I could not have written without a number of people taking the risk of speaking to me. They invited me into their homes, and sometimes for days on end, I sat at their kitchen tables, sorting through boxes and boxes of religious tracts, personal letters, unpublished family histories, and photo albums. I drank gallons of coffee, and I poured out near equal amounts in tears. I met women so badly traumatized that they had slipped into lives of prostitution, drug abuse, and alcoholism. I met boys who are confused and adrift, convinced that they are damned for all eternity, and as a result, they have nothing left to lose. The voices of the tyrannical God-men wormed their way into my brain, but for every sleepless night that I had, I knew that it wasn't anything like having lived what they did. On some of those long nights, I also thought about the debt that I owe them for telling their stories and reopening, because by doing so, they reopened barely healed wounds. I also realized that when the book was published, that many of those people would once again have to relive those chapters of their lives and face further censure and attack from those within the community, the fundamentalist community. And I have to say that on most of those nights, and even sometimes in the bright light of day, I wish that I'd stuck to my original intent and written fiction. That said, I loved the process of writing a book. I had a few glorious weeks at the beginning when it seemed that compared to a daily deadline, 6 months to write a book is an eternity. What a luxury, I thought, 6 months to write 170,000 words. Then read. Going for groceries became my weekly outing. And twice a week swimming with my friend Claire was a cherished social occasion. But it's been my privilege to be able to do this story, to shine a light on a dark corner of Canada, to press for the rights of women and children in Bountiful, and to finally see that justice may be done, but we'll have to wait for that chapter to be written. I've also been very lucky. I was raised by parents who loved books and encouraged reading. I work for editors at the Vancouver Sun, including Fazil and Patricia Graham, who give me virtual free rein to pursue stories that I think are important. I have wonderful support at the Sun, including librarians like Sandra Boutillier, who's also here, who gave me so much help in the research. And I had wonderful editors at Random House, Ann Collins and Nick Garrison, who unfortunately were not able to be here today. I also have a fabulous in-house editor, which is also a secret that authors need to have. They need to have an in-house editor, John Skinner, who, along with many of my other long-suffering friends, endured way too many hours of ranting about this and that. But finally, I would like to acknowledge that every year there are hundreds and thousands of writers who send off manuscripts. Most of those people never get published. Some of them get published and never get an audience that they deserve. But these are all passionate people, because writing a book is really not for the faint-hearted. And finally, I would like to thank the judges, the Foundation, and the BC government for making this award possible. Thank you.